Okay, so we're going to review roofs a little bit today. First thing, I'm going to go to my level 1 here and quickly look at everything that I have. I think, so my footprint looks slightly different than yours. I don't think I was very careful about getting it to look exactly like the little cabin, right? But we'll do the best we can. All right. So I'm just going to go over, how to generate them. I'm hoping that, and I'll kind of talk through the visual things a little bit. Hopefully, did it make sense in the last video when I talked about how you view your roof plan? Did that make sense? How you need to change your view range to be able to view the roof? Okay. All right, so you have a sense of things. All right. So I'm going to look at the levels that I've created here. I have quite a few levels, and to view those I'm going to go into my elevation view. Okay, and we'll take a look at things. And my levels go all the way up to level 5, which is kind of high for me. I'm going to take this down to maybe 20 feet. No, 23 feet. There we go. So here's my little project here. And I want to create a roof. And so the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a roof level. I'm going to rename this top of wall. Okay. And I'm going to create a new level, right? We go to architecture and we go over to level. And I'm going to create a new level called roof. Okay. So I have my roof here. And one of the things I explained in the video was that when I generate my roof, I want to view it from my roof level. But it doesn't actually get formed at my roof level, right? My roof that I generate actually gets created at top of wall, all right? So it sits at the top of my wall right there, okay? And I view it from my roof level, but I have to change my viewing parameters in my roofing level so that I can actually see everything. So I'm going to go to my top of wall level here. Let's see, where is it? Right there. Click, click. And, well, first of all, kind of the first problem I see here is that I can't see my floor plan below, right? You're going to start running into some visual issues, we'll call them issues, at this point in your Revit experience, because it's just really kind of the time that it starts happening. So the reason I can't see anything below my top of wall level is because my top of wall is set so that, and this is in general with all of these levels I've created, is that when I look at my top of wall, I'm going to do a reference plane. Okay, RP is the shortcut for that, RP. I'm going to create a little reference plane there. I'm going to create a dimension to it, DI, and I'm going to change that to 4 feet above that level. In general, when I look at a floor plate, and we've talked about this a lot, the floor plate is shown cut 4 foot above the level we're viewing, right? So that means when I look at my level 3 right here, I'm not actually looking at it at 15 feet. I'm looking at it at a cut at 19 feet, all right? So that's how a floor plan works. If you were to slice the top of a building off and look at it from the top, anything that is cut at that 3 to 4 foot level is what you're going to view. And so in top of wall, I'm not seeing anything because I'm not cutting anything at that 4 foot level, right? There's nothing happening there. And so when I go back to my top of wall level, I have to change how I'm viewing this level so that I can see things, okay? And to do that, we're gonna have to use view range. So I'm gonna come over here to my view range. It's right there. I'm gonna hit edit. And I'm gonna change the way that I look at this, this level, okay? So right now, my associated level is the bottom that I'm viewing is top of wall. Great. The top that I'm viewing is 7'6" above top of wall. That's the kind of volumetric room that I'm viewing in Revit. And the cut plane is at 4 feet. Great. Okay. But in fact, what I really want to see here is I want to see some walls below this. Okay. So I could change, instead of my view going to top of wall, I could change it to the level below, which is level 3. All right, and these are just visual settings. I'm not actually changing anything in the model, right? I'm just changing the way I look at it. So if I change the bottom of my cut plane to level 3 and I hit OK, Now, instead of viewing it from top of wall upwards, I'm viewing it from level 3 upwards. All right. So now I can see what's going on in my top of wall area. Okay. All right. So now I can see my walls. It's time for me to create a roof. All right. So we, kind of explain the different types of roofs that we have available in Revit. We have the roof by footprint, roof by extrusion. So I'm going to click on roof by footprint, and I'll quickly go through how to generate kind of the three most, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll do the 4 most basic types of roofing. So we'll do a hip roof, we'll do a gable end, we'll do a flat roof, and we'll do a single slope, right? Run through all those. So when I click on, and I'm moving a little quickly just because I assume you have a basic knowledge from watching the video, even if the picture is not complete. So I'm going to click on roof by footprint, and essentially I'm bumped into a sketch mode, right? This is just like when we create a floor. This is just like when we create a ceiling. I'm bumped into a sketch mode, and I'm allowed now to sketch out the boundary of my roof. Okay, so I'm going to click on my line. I'm actually going to click on my rectangle, and I'm just going to create a roof about this, for right now, to make it simple, about this volume that I have here in my project. Now I've clicked on my rectangle tool. I want to have an eave overhang, so I'm going to change my offset. Let's change that to 3 foot, enter. And I'm going to click on one end of my roof where I want it to start, and I'm going to click on the second point of my roof, and my sketch is finished. All right. So obviously I have this other little portion that doesn't have a roof over it, but we'll come back to that. Okay. So I have my sketch created, and each of my sketch lines has this little slope symbol next to it, right? And that indicates the pitch of the roof that's going to be generated. All right. A very low slope roof would be something like a 1 to 12. A very high pitch roof would be something like 9 to 12 or 12 to 12. Okay. This little slope symbol right here indicates that this edge of this roof will slope upward. All right. And that also indicates that this will slope this direction, this will slope this direction, and this will slope this direction. All right. They'll all slope up until they all commonly meet in the middle. All right. Right now, if I select an edge of my roof, you'll see that it has a 9/12 slope associated with it. All right. If I wanted to change that slope, I could click on it here and click on the 9/12. I could change that to 3/12 just by typing 3 and hitting enter. I could grab all of these at the same time if I wanted, right? We like to do things quickly. I could also come over here in my properties dialog box and change this to 3/12, enter. And all of those lines are now a 3/12. So I can dynamically change the slope here, or I can change the slope over in the properties dialog box. Okay. So I've drawn the outline of my roof. I have defined the level where this roof is going to be created. The next thing before I finish my sketch is to assign a roof type to this. So I'm just going to pick wood rafter 8-inch. Now that I picked my roof type, I'm going to hit finish. Okay. So it looks pretty good, except it kind of looks like this little top has been cut off, right? I'm going to pop into 3D and just take a look at it. Looks really good. I have a section box turned on here, which we'll just turn off there. There we go, right? But in general, we've got a nice little hip roof going on there. All right, so I'm going to go back to my north elevation here, and I'm going to look at this, and when I was in my top of wall view, the little kind of peak of my roof was cut off, right? And the reason the peak of that roof was cut off is because from top of wall, right, I only view until about 4 feet, and then Revit knows that I have to start cutting, right? And in a floor plan, that's appropriate, but in a roof plan, we really don't want to see that happening, right? We want to be able to see the roof in its entirety, okay? Now, what I can do here is I could change the parameters of top of wall, but what I actually want to do is I don't really want to create my roof plan at top of wall, right? It's okay for me to generate this roof at top of wall because that's where it's going to start, that's where it's going to live. But my actual roof plan is really where I want to view my roof from, all right? So instead of changing the parameters, the viewing parameters of top of wall anymore, I'm going to focus my attention now on the roof level, okay? And my roof level right now, if I were to go to my roof level, I would bet that I don't see any of my roof actually on my roof level, okay? Because my roof level is like my top of wall level. I'm just going to copy this reference plane up there. When I go to my roof level, by default, Revit's going to show me what happens at 4 feet above that roofing level. And they have nothing there, right? And so really nothing is going to show, okay? So if I go to roof, just as suspected, nothing is showing, okay? So what I need to do, number one, is my roof level doesn't really need to be all the way up there at 33 feet. I'm going to move it down. I'm just nudging it with my arrows. And I'm going to get it as close as I can to the, the peak of that roof. So 28 feet looks pretty good. All right, but still, there's, nothing above that. So I need to change the view parameter so that I can see my roof again. So I'm going to go back to, oh, not level 1, roof. I'm going to go to roof. Oop. There we go. That was kind of odd, wasn't it? All right, so I need to change my view range now so that I can see my roofing level. All right, this I think view range, honestly, is one of the most confusing things in Revit. And there's a lot of confusing things in Revit. So I'm going to come back over here to my view range. The shortcut is VR for that. And I'm going to make it so that I am associated with my roof level at the top, but instead of seeing my roof level, instead of the bottom being my roof level, I'm going to take that to the level below, top of wall. I'm going to apply that, and now I'm viewing my roof from the level below. So I hit OK, and by doing what I just did, let's go back to my north, right? While on my roof level, I'm allowed to view from top of wall up, all right? So that's how you're going to make it so that on your roofing level, you can see your roof, essentially. And I would say that on every project that I've worked on, you have to do this. You have to change your view range because you want to be able to show and annotate your roof on the roof plan, not on the top of wall level below, right? So we have to change the viewing parameters in order for it to work. All right, so we have our little hip roof, right? A hip roof is all 4 edges slope up. They all have defined slope. When we sketch it, that's how it functions, okay? I'm going to delete this little roof, and we're going to create a gable end roof now, all right? I'm going to go back to my top of wall because that's where I want my roof to sit at when I create it. And I'm going to create my second type of roof, which is a gable end, all right? So another weird thing that was happening when I created that video is I couldn't browse to the internet or like minimize my view or the video would die. So I usually like to kind of browse out and show, I'm sure everybody knows what a gable end roof looks like, but this is what a gable end roof looks like, right? We have a gable end here. We have 2 edges that slope up to a peak, essentially. All right, so again, I'm just going to create a roof with this volume right here. We're not going to worry about this little guy right here. So I go back to my roofing command, roof by footprint. Again, I'm bumped into sketch mode, okay? And I'm going to draw a rectangle and draw the outline of my roof. And I'm going to come over here to offset. Let's make a 3-foot offset, enter, and that will be my eave offset. So now when I draw my roof, click again, right? Everything looks really good. Great. Okay, so now, a gable end roof is where I have one edge slope up, a second edge slope up to a peak, but I have these 2 flat ends, okay? And so those ends don't slope. Okay, that's how a gable end is defined in Revit. So I need to make it so that these end pieces, they don't have a defined slope. So I'm going to click on one, and I'm going to come over here to my Properties dialog box and uncheck Defines Roof Slope. Now you notice that the little slope symbol is missing. When I click on it, it's all grayed out. Okay, and I'm going to click on this one, and I'm going to do the same thing. Uncheck Defines Roof Slope. Okay, so now essentially this won't slope up, but these two slope up towards one another. That creates that peak, that gable end. Okay, we'll leave these at 912. It's pretty steep slope, but that's okay. And I'm going to pick my roofing type, and I'm going to hit Finish. Okay, so again, this has been generated at top of wall, so my roof view is cut off, right? I'm going to go to my north elevation and look at this real quick. So that's somewhat what I expected, all right? So the other thing that I'm actually noticing here is that likely when I look at my roof plan, because I only get a cut to about 4 feet, right? My roof and my roof plan will actually be cut off, okay? So I'm probably going to, well, no, I have to. I'm going to go this direction instead of changing the view range. I'm going to move my roof level up so that it's at the same height as my roof there, approximately. Okay, so when you're creating roofs in Revit and you're going back and forth between slopes and different things, it's not uncommon to have to move a level, right? So my roof level needs to be above my roof, essentially. So I'm moving and usually you don't redefine your roof 8 times when you're working on a project. You know what kind of roof it's going to be. But if you had to change it because you were looking at design options, then you would just move your roof level up and down to accommodate the height of your roof, okay? So I'm going to go to my roof level, click, click. And because in the same project, I had previously defined my roof level, right, to view down to top of wall, everything is still functioning really well. I can still see my roof here, all right? If I pop into 3D, there's my gable end. It looks wonderful. Except, and Chuck was having this problem, he's like, hey, my wall won't go up and meet my roof, right? Is this what you're talking about? So what we need to have happen is here is we need to define these walls so that they go up and they meet that roof plane and they attach themselves to that roof plane. So to do that is really easy. I'm going to click on my wall here. I'm going to choose, when I choose that wall, this option Attach Top to Base appears. Click. I click on my roof and that wall attaches to my roof. That's all you have to do. Not working? Okay. Oh, shoot. Oh, boy. Sometimes, if, for example, like this wall extends beyond that roof, right? If I click on that and I choose Attach Top to Base and I click on my roof here, well, it worked. Of course it works, right? Sometimes, because not the entire roof isn't, or the entire wall isn't under the roof, right? It'll say cannot attach to target, you know, some weird error like that. But that's how we're going to get our walls to attach to our roof. If we want them to detach from the roof, we would click on it, detach top base, click on the roof again, and it would detach. Now the really nice thing about this, right, this is kind of the same topic as when you add a roof or a ceiling or a floor or a ceiling. It says, would you like to connect your walls to the underside? And you say no, right, because I've told you to do that. This is kind of the same topic, but this one actually really functions very well, right? It does what it should. And so it's okay to say yes, attach that to the roof. And what's really nice about that is if I click on this roof, I'm going to show you another kind of option of roofs, and I want to change the slope after it's been defined, I can come over here to slope, change it to like 612. And it flattens out a little bit, and those walls still remain attached to that, right? So everything looks as it should. If I delete it, they detach, they go back to those straight walls. All right. Okay, so gable end roof, right? If I want to edit the sketch of a roof I've already drawn, and this goes for any type of roof, I can click on it twice very quickly, click, click, and I'm entered back in sketch mode. So if I wanted to bring this out a little bit more, or whatever changes I wanted to make, I hit finish, and there we go. Okay. All right, gable end roof hopefully makes sense. So we have the hip roof, we have gable end roof. Let me do a single slope roof, like on your imbue cabin project, okay? I'm gonna go back to my top of wall. And if I accidentally generate my roof at a different level, like I go to my roof plan and I create it on accident, no big deal. I can always just grab the roof and reassign it to another level. All right, so I'm gonna click on roof again, roof by footprint, and I'm gonna follow the same procedure, right, for drawing the outline. The single slope roof is even more simple. Instead of having, you know, a hip has all 4 sides slope. Gable end has 2 sides slope. A single slope roof has 1 side slope, all right? So if I wanted my roof to be low here and slope up to a point, I would make this edge slope, and all the other 3 would have no slope defined, okay? If I wanted to have this edge be the low end and slope up this direction, then this would be defined with slope and the other 3 would not have any slope defined. Okay, so I'm going to grab these 3 and undefine their slope. I can click once, click a second time, click a third time, right? I'm holding control, selecting them at the same time. I can come over here and uncheck define slope. So now I just have one edge that defines slope, and it's going to start from here and slope upward that direction. It's just like your imbue cabin roof. I'm going to change this to a 312 slope and hit finish. I'm going to go into 3D, and there's my single slope roof. Now again, my walls are not meeting that, right? So I could grab my walls and I could hit control and add several of these at the same time, which we like to do, right? Attach top to base. There we go. Okay. If I wanted to create a second roof on this lower portion, right, I could do that as well, all right? So I'm going to go to my north elevation here, and actually, let's go to east. I want to see a side view, all right. I've got this upper roof, and it starts at the low point and slopes up, right? I can view it from my roof plan because it's living below that. Everything looks good. But what happens if I wanted to have maybe a second roof at a different level, right? I could add another roof plan or roof level, and I could add a second roof plane at a different level on that new level. Create level. There we go. Right, and instead of being called that, I could call it low roof. And then maybe I change this to high roof. Okay, now I could go to my, again, my top of wall is sort of where my roof is going to live, but I'm going to view it from my low roof here. Actually, I may want to, no, we'll leave it like that. We'll just make it a really low slope roof. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So my little roof is just going to cover this little guy here. So I'm going to go to roof. And we'll just give this a 1 foot offset. Here we go. AL align. There we go. I want it to slope from here up. So I'm going to undefine these 3 lines. Uncheck that. And we will make this a 112. Hit finish. Go into 3D. And there's my second little roof. Okay. We've got a little another little issue right there, which we'll talk about it in a minute. But I can pick that wall even, well, ooh, this is tricky. I'm hoping attach top to base, click there. There we go. I was hoping it wasn't going to detach that big portion and just attach that, but everything looks like it worked pretty well. But I can still grab these walls here, grab that wall there, attach top to base, click. And I've got my second little wall there.
How do you bring your wall up?
Right here.
Yeah.
So what we'd have to do there is we'd have to draw a wall on the inside of the project, and instead of it starting at the floor, you'd have to give a base offset, and then attach that to the top. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start at like or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, because you'd probably have to have a beam there, right? And so wherever that beam would fall, you'd have to just build it above that. Yep. Okay. All right, so we have our single slope roof, which is, this is how our little imbue cabin is going to be built, right? Sorry guys, I'm just getting over this cold. It's been miserable. My little germies at home. And the final roof we can do is, let's do a flat roof. All right, so I'm going to go back to, I'm going to delete this roof. I'm going to delete this little roof. Actually, I'm going to leave those. And I'm going to leave those because they're attached to all the walls. And instead of creating a new roof outline, I'm just going to show you how to redefine the slope to make it a flat roof. I'm going to go to top of wall again. Or actually, I'm going to go to my roof plan. Let's go to high roof. Okay, I'm going to grab that roof outline, hit edit footprint. Okay, and this is really the only line that has slope defined, and if I want a roof to be completely flat, I would just undefine that roof slope, hit finish, and it's all flat. Let's go to low roof. Oh, I can't see my low roof here. We need to redefine my view range. View range. We want to change the bottom to be able to see the level below. There we go. I'm going to grab my low roof, edit footprint, and we will undefine that one line, hit finish. And there we go. And in fact, we didn't really need 2 roofs for this, right? I could have drawn an outline that encompassed all of those, right? And just done one flat roof. Okay. Does that help a little bit, the roof situation, hopefully? Okay. So the one thing we didn't cover in the video that I do want to cover today is how we can cut a hole in a roof, all right? And I'm going to do that with using 2 gable end roofs, okay? Sorry guys, I have to take a quick break though before we do this. Okay. All right, so let's talk about taking 2 roofs and number 1, combining them, and also number 2, how to cut holes in a roof. And I'll show you why that's going to be important. So I'm going to delete that roof, and I'm going to delete this roof. Okay. I'm going to go to my high roof level. And of course I can't see it anymore, so I need to figure out my view range. I'm going to go to my north elevation. And my high roof, I have to see down to top of wall in order to see what's going on there. So I'm going to go to my high roof again, and I'm going to have to change my view range. So I click on edit, and oh, top of wall. Well, that should have top of wall. We're going to go down to level 3. Okay, so it wasn't showing me what I needed to see because it was only going down to top of wall and not extending below that. So I went down to level 3 so I could see even further down into the building. Okay, so I think what makes this view template or view range sort of confusing is the fact that there's no really good reason as to why we do things, maybe is the best way of saying it. I just sort of adjust things so that I can see what I need to see. And when I see what I need to see, you know, it doesn't matter what's in this view range box as long as I get the information I need, right? So because this is a view associated setting, it's not going to affect your geometry, right? So I can change this and manipulate it, you know, very oddly, and as long as it shows me what I want to see, it's correct. Okay, so I brought this down to level 3, and you're thinking, gosh, that's pretty far down in the project, but that's okay because it shows me what I need to see. All right, so I'm going to go back to my top of wall, which is where I want my roof to live. I am on top of wall. And I'm going to show you just a couple of different things first. First, I'm going to go to roof. And instead of actually doing some of the things I mentioned before, I'm going to draw this roof as one piece. All right, so I'm just going to create an outline here, which we can definitely do. I'm going to say this might be a dangerous thing to say, but in general, roofs work pretty well in Revit, and it's one of my favorite things, aside from the annotation stuff. This is one of my favorite things because you all, if anybody's ever drawn a roof plan, they can get very complicated very quickly. It's hard to envision them. And so to have this available where you draw an outline and it pops out a roof is, I feel like, pretty amazing. I'm going to make these all, I selected them all at the same time. You'll notice that none of the grayed out geometry selects when I select all those, so that makes it pretty easy, right? I'm going to change the slope to like a 512. But when I hit finish, what's nice is that one entire roof is generated, right? That looks pretty good. And if you know, it's pretty close to what you might see. Okay, so we have the hip roof here and another hip roof here, and they kind of intersect. You have kind of this weird little thing happening, but maybe that's okay, right? So what's nice about this is I can draw one continuous roof, and in general, it looks pretty good, okay? Okay, so I'm going to hit undo. One nice thing about roofs in Revit is that when I hit undo, I actually go back into the sketch. So if I do it and then I think, oh, that's not quite what I was looking for, undo one time and I can bump back into the sketch. Not like it's that difficult to double click on it, right? But so fast just to hit undo. Another thing I could have done was what I've been doing all along. I'm going to trim TR. I could just create this one piece of this roof, and then I could create a second roof and join it into that first one. That's pretty easy as well. Okay, so I hit finish, and there's the first piece of my roof. Looks great. Now I want to put a second roof right here, but maybe I want it to be a gable end. Okay, I want it to be a different type of roof. So I'm going to go back to my top of wall, and I'm going to create my second roof here. So I hit roof, roof by footprint, and I'm just going to draw my next roof here. Now I can't see where my building lines end here, and it's because this roof right here is obscuring my walls, right? I'm going to change to a wireframe view. Whoops. And now I can see through that roof to the walls behind it. Okay. So I'm gonna come here. I'm going to, we'll give this a 2-foot overhang, and I'm gonna draw my second roof. We'll do it right there. And I want this to be a gable roof on this side. So that means that this will slope up, this will slope up, and these two edge conditions will not. All right. So I'm going to grab these two edge conditions, and I'm going to undefine the slope, and we'll make this a 412, 412, and hit finish. I bump into 3D, and I have my roof there. Okay, so my walls, you know, I want those to go up to the roof. So I grab those walls, attach top to base. I click on the roof, and they join, which looks great. Okay, but my roof doesn't look quite right. It doesn't go back into that main roof and join like it should. So I'm going to show you how to join those two roofs, clean them up, and then I'm going to show you how to cut a hole in one roof to create an opening to make, in some instances, things look right. Not all instances, right? So to join these two roofs so that this one extends to the main roof, I'm going to click on this roof. And you'll notice that when I click on it, the modify roof button modify roof option pops up here. And I get an option to join or unjoin a roof. And it'll give you a really good graphic of how it's going to work. Right? That's exactly what we want to do. So I want to join those two roofs. So I'm going to click on join or unjoin roof. Now this is a little bit, I feel like it's an odd workflow. The first thing I like to do is I like to make sure I'm in a view where I can see this bare edge of my roof, but also the main roof where it's going to connect. Okay. So when I initiated this command, it says select an edge at the end of the roof that you wish to join. Okay. So I'm going to come over here. This is the one I want to join. And I'm just going to pick an edge, which is, it feels very weird to me, but it's just kind of the way that it works. Click. And then it says down here, select the face of another roof or wall you wish to join the first one to. Well, I want to join it to this. Click. There we go. So it very nicely joined those. So I got a little error because it disconnected these walls. Okay. But the roofs join very nicely. And if I turn on I'm in 3D view here, right? If I select this, they all seem like they're very nice and trimmed neatly. Now, if I go into a section box, let me show you the only problem with this. The only problem with this is that if I wanted to show inside of this little project here, if I wanted to have kind of a dormer condition, it's kind of hard to see, it's kind of dark in there, right? But essentially I'm seeing this main roof kind of still cut across there, right? Do you see that? And this roof, while it's coming in and intersecting very nicely, right? And this is sort of how it would look framed on there, right? I'm still the inside view, which is, you know, it's not working, essentially, okay? If that didn't matter, like if we were putting a ceiling in here and it was a flat ceiling and you didn't need to see the kind of dormer-like structure of the roof, then that's fine. You could do this kind of join and it wouldn't matter, all right? But if on the interior you want to see that, then you're going to have to cut a hole in this roof so that we could see then the understructure of that kind of dormer-like piece that comes into it. Okay, so let me turn my section box off at least right there. Turn it back on real quick. This actually over here might be a better view. You see that? It's kind of coming in there. It's kind of odd. Okay, so I want to show you how to get rid of that. And really the way to get rid of that is to cut a hole in the roof, essentially. All right, so I'm going to go back to my roof plan and we're going to deal with that, okay? All right, so this is a little bit of an odd workflow. Maybe I say that way too often, right? It is what it is, right? They could improve on some things, but we love Revit. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut a hole in this roof, but before I cut a hole in the roof, I sort of need to I need to create a framework to show me where to cut the hole. Okay, so I'm going to draw some reference planes. But what I also kind of need to sort of realize here is that I'm going to do a wireframe view, WF. What I need to see here is that this roof that I've selected has a thickness to it, right? So you see the thickness of that roof right here touch this roof here, okay? So that's one thing I want to point out before I start drawing a framework for this hole. Okay, so I'm going to go to reference plane, architecture, reference plane, or I could just type RP, okay? And I'm going to use my little pick tool here. And these reference planes are really just going to guide me and show me where I need to cut a hole. All right, and I'm going to click here and I'm going to click here, and that is going to indicate where I need to cut a hole in this main roof so that this one comes in and there's a nice opening there and I can see the inside of the dormer area there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this little roof. Okay, so I create a wireframe view. I use reference planes to indicate where that inside edge of that roof is. Okay, I'm going to then click on this little roof. I'm going to use my little sunglasses and temporarily hide it. And, oh, did I have both of those selected? Oh, I did hide category, I think. Oh. Gosh, I'm messing this all up. Hide element. There we go. So now, but I still know where that roof sort of lays on the main roof, and that will allow me to cut a hole. Okay. Now, the reason that I selected that inside edge of the roof is because I want to cut a hole here, but I need to leave enough of this roof available for this thickness of that roof to come in and connect. If I had cut my hole starting at this sort of valley line right here, I would cut the hole and then this roof wouldn't join to it because there would be nothing for this roof to touch. Does that make sense? It seems like it's a big deal, essentially. If you choose the wrong line to cut your main roof with, it won't work. Okay? So I'm gonna re-hide this. Okay, and we're gonna cut a hole in this main roof. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to, sorry guys, we want to do a vertical opening. Yes. Okay. I feel like there used to be a cut roof tool, and so I always second guess myself because in older versions of Revit, I swear under the modify, there was a cut roof tool over here somewhere, and anyway, I have to forget. So we're going to use the vertical opening here. Okay, so I'm going to click on vertical opening, and when I do that, it says select a floor, roof, or ceiling, or soffit to create a vertical opening. Okay, well I want to cut a hole in this roof. Click. Bumps me into sketch mode. Okay, now it wants me to draw a boundary and I want to enclose the piece of the roof that needs to be cut out. So I'm going to click on my line tool here, and it needs to go from here to here, from there to there, and from there to there. And I'm going to trim TR, click, 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 click. And when I hit finish, ideally, if I've done everything right, that piece of the roof will disappear. Again, I feel like this is I say this a lot, it's a weird workflow Because in what world do you draw on the edge of something to, you know, make something happen? You don't, right? But I'm going to hit finish, and my vertical opening is created, okay? And although it is kind of a weird workflow, I have to say that it generally works. So it's one of those tools where I, surprisingly, when I use it, I'm always like, it's not going to work. It doesn't feel right. And then I do it and it functions, okay? But the key is to make sure that you prepare to cut the opening, right? I mark with reference lines where I want the opening to be. I'm going to come down here and reset my hide isolate. You mark where you want them to be, and you make sure you mark it in the right spot, right? So that I leave enough of the main roof for this one to come in and touch it and connect, all right? And now, when I go into 3D, if I turn on my section box, there we go. Look at that, our little roof, right, connects in there. It's not perfect, don't get me wrong, right? It's not totally perfect, but it is good enough that it gives you what you need, okay? All right, let me do that one more time so that you can see that again. And the nice thing about this is that with a cut, once you make it, it's actually highly editable, which is another one of those things where I'm like, oh, wow, you know, I can click on that roof cut opening. You see that roof opening, click, and I can hit edit sketch, and it will allow me to edit it, which is, again, I think it's kind of an odd thing, but in general, it always works. I'm going to delete it this way though too. I'm going to come up here and grab that invisible element and hit delete, and my roof opening goes away. So again, right, to cut an opening in the roof, I'm going to go to wireframe, WF, and I'm going to draw a little framework using reference planes, RP. I'm use my pick tool, and I'm going to pick this inner boundary, click, click. Right? And if you're lazy and you don't want to do that first, you forget, you're going to have to go back and do it, so you might as well just do it in the beginning. I'm going to grab my little piece of roof, and I'm going to hide it temporarily. SD shade mode. Now I'm going to cut a hole in this. I'm going to go to opening here, vertical opening, and I'm going to click on the object I want to cut a hole in. Click. Now I'm going to use my drawing tools just to define the outline. Oh, it went too far, so I'm going to trim it. TR. Okay. I'm going to hit finish, and I've got my opening there. I'm going to turn my little reset. There's my other little opening there. Okay. Any questions on any of that so far? We know how to do roofs. Good. Good. Okay. So for your imbue cabin, really you have two single slope roofs, right? So not terrible. But that's what you're going to be generating. Okay. Let's see. So we've got our roofs, we've cut our openings in our roof if you needed to do that. I don't think we're going to get to stairs tonight. But let's go over the midterm. If there aren't any questions on that, let's go over the midterm.
I have a question about ceilings.
Yeah.
Where
Yes.
it's not published.
What's that?
Get the assignment.
No.
No.
It's supposed to be attached to something.
Let's see.
It
Module.
says that the modules are unpublished.
Oh, yes. One is unpublished. Sorry, guys. Very typical. All the rest are nice and published. It's tricky because I can publish all. I just didn't notice that. Sorry. Yep, there you go. That is what I'm glad you mentioned that though, because I do want to show you how to slope a ceiling so that it meets a roof that's sloped. So let's go over that and then we'll go over the midterm. All right, so I'm going to delete this little guy, and I'm going to edit this little guy. I'm going to delete my opening and edit this roof. And I want this to be just a single slope roof. So I'm going to grab these three and uncheck the slope. And this will be a 512 and hit finish. Okay. That is a very sloped roof. Let's do a 212. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to leave this open. I'm not going to attach the walls because I want to talk about how to align the ceiling with this. All right. So top of wall is where, with my ceiling plan, likely where I want to create my ceiling for that roof. There we go. Delete that, delete that. What is this? That is roof. Okay. So my ceiling here, I'm going to come over to view range. And now my view range is opposite, which always sort of throws me off when I'm working in, I changed to a ceiling view, right? I'm in my ceiling plan, I'm in my top of wall ceiling plan. And right now my view ranges are showing unlimited. Okay. So I think the top of my view range, we're going to make it high roof, and the bottom will be top of wall. No. There we go. Let's apply this and see what happens. Sorry, I need to look at this now. High roof, and my view depth is going to go all the way down to low roof. Oh boy. Let's see. This is not wanting to work. Hold on. Let me cancel this and go back and let's get this view range working. Okay, I need to go back and look at here. So my view range is going to go if I'm at top of wall. The odd thing, it's not giving me level 3. So maybe I will change my mind a little bit. Maybe I'll go to low roof to generate this. Okay. And view range. Top is high roof. I want this to be oh man, this is giving me a lot of trouble. Top of wall. There is a little portion of our roof. Let's go to view range. And let's start here. Okay. Low roof. Change it to low roof. There we go. Okay. So here's some of the finickiness that I'm talking about with view range. Oh boy, we don't want that. I was getting an error, and I think it was because my cut plane, what was happening is my cut plane was 7'6", and that was above the floor, but that was, I was getting an error that said your top clip or whatever is below your bottom view depth, right? And essentially what was happening is the error was being caused because my cut plane was higher or lower than the level that I was associating it with, if that makes sense. So I changed my cut plane to 0, and then I sort of worked with the levels to figure out which level I wanted to go to be able to view my roof. I know it's confusing. Oh. 0. Okay. Okay, so there's my roof, and I'm viewing it from below. I'm in a ceiling plan, top of wall, which allows me to see the entire thing. And I'm going to create a ceiling, and I'm going to show you how to slope it, okay? And in order for that to happen, This is not always the easiest thing, and it's a little bit of a guessing game. So I created a section over here so we could see what was going on. And here's the underside of my roof, and I'm viewing it from top of wall. So basically from top of wall, I'm looking up, and I'm looking at the bottom of this roofing plane here. Hey, how's it going? Good.
I was trying before, so I was like, is that Shelly? I haven't seen you forever, so I was like, hey.
It's good to see you. Okay, so let's create our ceiling here. Now the other tricky part is I'm not able to see my exterior walls, so let's see if we can get our exterior walls to show. So the top. I don't think this is going to work. No, we'll just leave it at 0. I'm going to guess. Okay. We're just going to pretend our walls go to here, which I think they do. So I'm going to click on ceiling, and I'm going to sketch my ceiling. Okay, so there's my ceiling, which ideally I want it to slope and hit the bottom of that roof there, okay? Now here's the tricky part, okay? We want this to slope from grid A up to grid E. So this is our low point, you see that? A is our low point, E is our high point, A is our low point, E is our high point. You may not have noticed it before, but within the ceiling command we have a slope arrow here, okay? And I'm going to click on slope arrow, and I'm going to click at my low point, and I'm going to click all the way to my high point. All right, so the tail is at the low point, and the head is at the high point. Okay, here's where it gets a little bit tricky. I now have to, there isn't a way to sort of say, follow the roof, which wouldn't that be magical, right? Follow the slope of the roof. No. The ceiling, it won't allow you to do that. The way that it works is it asks you for a height at the tail, and it asks you for a height at the head. Okay, so at the tail, I can see that my height, which is right here, my thing is sloping from there, is this level, 23 feet top of wall. Okay, so I can click on my tail there. So height offset at tail is from which level though? Level at tail. And I need to assign a level. Oh, this is kind of new. That's nice. I'm just going to assign a level, it looks like, for my tail now. That's good. Top of wall. Okay. Now, I can't assign right now a top to my head. So this is something a little bit new. They didn't used to allow you to assign a level. That actually makes it a little bit easier if you had, you know, if the tail was assigned to, you know, top of wall, and the head was assigned to ridge, right? That would make it a little bit easier to then say it's kind of following the roof, right? Because you're hitting those two levels. So maybe a better way of going about this for me would just be to create a datum level there that's called peak of the roof or something, so that I can define my ceiling to slope from here to here, okay? But that would be too easy, so I'm going to show you kind of the difficult way of going about it instead, right? So we're going to assign our tail a level, top of wall, click on it. So tail, height at tail, top of wall, and we're going to, the tail, we don't want to offset it. The level at the head, well, I'm not quite sure what it is, so right now, because I can't measure it, I'm going to choose low roof. So the level at the head, we'll choose low roof, and I'm going to hit apply, hit finish. Okay, so what that did is, this is my ceiling, it assigned it to there, great. But I actually need it to go to right about there, right? I'm going to draw a reference plane right there. DI dimension, so I need an offset of 3 feet. I'm going to click on my ceiling again. There's my slope. And the slope at my head here will be, the level of the head is low roof, but I want it to be offset 3 foot. Hit apply, finish that, and it then slopes up. Now, here's the tricky part. My ceiling is, although it is sort of assigned to a level there, right? It's not exactly, because the roof sits just above that, it's not identical to that height. And this one is identical, but it's gone up the ceiling thickness too far. So I still have to finagle. I was thinking that allowing it to be assigned to the head and ridge would make it a little easier, but it still looks like I'm going to have to finagle. So I'm going to hit edit boundary again. Oops, over here. And my head, I'm going to, instead of 3 foot, I'm going to take it down a half, or maybe an inch. So we'll do 2'11", and we'll bump this up about an inch at the offset. See, so that brought it down an inch. I still need to bring it down maybe another inch. It's kind of a guessing game. I bumped it up an inch, but there's still a gap. Edit boundary again. 2'10", 3 inches. I'm getting very, very close. Do you guys see that? So I can measure this tiny little 23-30 seconds. I think I'm just going to move it up a ½ inch and call it a day. And that's even off just the tiniest bit, right? So in my experience here, I just kind of get it as close as I can. Edit boundary. We'll bump the tail up. It did need to go up, right? I think. Pretty darn close, right? So there's no, hey, I'm going to go AL align and align the roof plane to the roof. That would be too easy, right? There's no, hey, follow the slope of the roof, which is 512. Nope, and you know, that doesn't work. And in fact, I think I could probably move this into place. I could grab it after it's sort of the right slope, and MV, I could move it up a little bit. But it's not going to be quite identical, so you'll have to finagle the two ends just a little bit, right? Anyway, I've done a lot of these, and it's just always kind of a pain in the neck. So I get it as close as I can, and then I go from there. And you're probably thinking, well, then why even slope the roof, right? Why not just kind of show it flat and then indicate things? And the reason it is actually kind of important to show the roof sloped is so that you can show spacing of lights at it, you know, equally, because they're going to be spaced different on a flat plane than on a sloped plane. Because I've been lazy before and thought, I'm just going to show a flat plane here and I'll fake it in the section, you know, and it didn't work because my spacing was off of my lights. So I ended up having to go back and fix it. But that's how you're going to slope the roof, or slope the ceiling to get it to meet your roof. And I'm fine with getting it as close as you can in that instance, okay? You'll probably have to watch the video again on that one, right? And it doesn't get any easier. So maybe that's for the 2020 version. We'll have to suggest. Can we use a line, please, to put ceilings on roofs right there, right? All right. Any questions on any of that? All right. Just a little bit more. That was a lot, but that's okay. I think it was all really good information. Let's talk about the midterm. And like I said, I think we just have a couple more topics, and then I'm going to spend kind of a whole class period just kind of cruising through all the beginnings of our midterm. Okay, and it is here. Oh, yes, there it is. And it's published. I'm so bad at that. All right. So really, for your midterm, you'll have, and again, I'll cruise through the beginnings of this, and I think that will really help you get moving more on it. But there's going to be some changes to our model, essentially, okay? So your client wants you to redesign the house a bit. They want you to bump out this wall here by 3 feet to add some room to this bedroom. They also want you to move this lower wall, we'll call it the south wall, even though I don't believe this is actually true south on the plans, down 4 feet. So we want a bigger bedroom, and essentially we want to be able to accommodate a stairway on the inside. Okay, so with these windows here, I want you to just move the fireplace down and center it on this wall here, and add the same amount of windows on either side. Okay, and then just add a couple more windows here for the kitchen. All right. Next time we'll talk about stairs, and we'll put this stair into your project. The stair is going to go down to the new basement that you're going to add. So you'll make these couple of dimensional changes. You'll add a basement onto, and the basement will follow the footprint of the entire building, so you'll have a full basement, okay? And then I want you to redesign the furniture just so it sort of fits within the space, okay? So that's gonna be one thing. The second thing that we're gonna do is you're gonna add a garage to this site plan. So if this is the little house, the cars are parked there, we're gonna put in a pretend little garage right here. So it's gonna be 24 feet, we'll make it kind of a nice big garage, they can have a little shop in there. A 24-foot by 30-foot garage, all right? And I want it, so the slope of the roof goes from high to back to low, right? I want it to go high to low there as well. So you'll kind of pull in on like this side of the garage where the roof slopes, but that'll be okay. So the roof will slope from, it'll go, do I have that opposite? No, high to low. It'll slope downward that direction. So we'll say this is the high point and that's the low point, essentially. I want it to be 20 feet away from the house, and I want it to somewhat look like this in a sectional view, right? So just have the slope be the same slope as this roof, and the way that this is going to work is the walls for the garage are going to be the same walls as the house, so it'll kind of be the same aesthetic as the house. And we'll talk about this too when I just start drafting, but this is what and it's kind of a typical way that the garage is going to look. This detail is what it's going to look like here. So we'll have like an 18-inch stem wall of concrete that goes up from ground level. We'll have a 30-inch foundation wall, okay? And I'll talk about footings too when we draw the house out. And then there will be a wood framed wall above this concrete wall. Okay, so essentially you'll have a little 18-inch concrete wall that extends from the ground up all the way around the perimeter, right? And then we'll have framed walls above that. We'll have a concrete slab in the garage, but you can use the same wall types, the same roof types. It's going to be a 6-inch concrete slab in there, right? You can use the same foundation wall types on the garage that you'll use on the house. Okay, and then it goes through, and I'm talking about all the different views that you're going to generate, so I won't go through all of those quite yet, but when I start drawing, I'll make sure that we have all of those in here. I'm going to have you, for the deliverables, you're going to post your Revit model to Canvas, you're going to post a complete PDF of the project to Canvas, and then I'm going to show you how to print a full-size set of drawings. So the 24 by 36 prints that you can print on the OSE, I'm going to show you how to use the OSE, and we'll print those. Actually, on the day that this is due, we'll print them in class, and you can turn them in. Okay? I'll let you guys look over this, but that's essentially what your late-term projects.
Draw a second part?
What's that?
Are we learning how to draw
No.
Oh.
No, and so if you,
So on the main level, just draw the garage 20 feet?
away from the house. Yeah. I'm going to show you how to draw a very basic piece of topography, but that's going to kind of be the extent of it. So, all right.